Hello, welcome to the Flute 360 podcast, where we incorporate a panoramic view of flute-related topics. I am your host, Heidi K. Begay, and this is episode 143, an interview with Robert Johnson, the owner of Flute Specialists.
Hello, flute lovers and Flute 360 fans. It's Adam Workman from Flutistry. You might know us from our concert and masterclass live streams, or our famous selfies. And what about our iconic water bottles? Or maybe we've helped you with instrument trials or your repair needs on the road or at our home in Boston. Flutistry helps flutists across the globe sound their best from our home in the flute-making capital of the world. Whether you are looking for a flute, piccolo, alto, or bass at any level, or repair services, sheet music, or accessories, Flutistry is here to support you and your artistic goals. This flute geek with experience in performance, repair, and flute making started Flutistry, literally flute and artistry, because I believe a flute dealer should be the artist advocate with every product or service we provide, especially in the flute search process. Now, 10 years later, we're here talking with Heidi about new tools and ways that Flutistry is supporting flutists like you at every stage of your artistic evolution. Stay tuned for our episode and be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and visit us online at flutistry.com. Stay safe and play on.
I had a wonderful conversation with Robert Johnson a few weeks ago, and I am stoked to bring the episode live to you today. I highlight this conversation because I want you to know we talked about his career, studies with Ron Paul, and his entrepreneurial ideas for the modern day musician. Check out all of these different topics that we discuss in today's interview, and please go to the end of the show where Robert Johnson has an amazing offering for you today. He highlights it as his number one pick. Enjoy the show. Hi, Robert. Welcome to the show.
Well, it's a great honor, Heidi, to be participating in your podcast, Flute 360. How awesome.
Oh, my goodness. The pleasure is all mine. And how are you today?
Well, we're doing super here. As we all say these days, all things considered, but all's well for me and the team at Flute Specialists. And how about you all there?
Oh, my goodness. Texas, we're doing great. It's been kind of wet and rainy these last few days, but all is good.
I'm very glad to hear that.
Yeah. Well, Happy New Year's a day early. We get to talk on New Year's Eve, which is super exciting.
Very fun.
Yeah. I'm sure I'm not the only one, but we are all probably looking forward to 2021 in such a big way.
It can't come soon enough. We're all counting down. Out with the old and in with the new.
Yes, I totally agree. Cool. All right. So for the listeners out there who may not know you, can you share a little bit about yourself?
I'd be happy to. My name is Robert Johnson. I'm the president and founder of Flute Specialists, Inc., located in the great state of Michigan, in the community we call Metro Detroit. So we're in a northern suburb of Detroit, Michigan, and we've been located here since we opened. This is year 30 for Flute Specialists and year 40 for me in the industry.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a huge achievement.
It's a long time, but I have to say that I've enjoyed every minute of it. I'm very blessed to love what I do and do what I love. So when that happens, you never work a day in your life.
Exactly, that intersection.
It's been a blessing for me.
Oh, cool. I don't know if you remember, you met so many people at NFA last year, but we actually met through Kathy Blocky.
Nice. Yes. Sweet woman.
Yeah, it was real short and brief, but I'm so glad she introduced me to you because look at us now. We're talking about your wonderful store and your wonderful career, and I couldn't be more happy.
Well, we're happy too, and that's the great thing about friends and meeting people through mutual friends and the value of our National Flute Association conference. And it demonstrates the joy we all have doing what we do in this great industry and meeting new people, and new friends become old friends very quickly.
Yes, very well said. So you mentioned how long you've been in the business, but what inspired you to establish your flute store?
Well, it's interesting. It was sort of both a very long road and also a very short road to starting, opening, founding Flute Specialists. When I was a youngster, I had an uncle who was a very well-known band director here in Metro Detroit. And during the summer months, he would repair instruments. As a band director, he had been trained how to repair instruments. And so at a very young age, I learned that there was something called flute repair. And I desired to learn to do flute repair. And I was always mechanically inclined. And so as a youngster, I would always disassemble things. And I had a great mom who would give me broken appliances and I could take them all apart. And funny, I would polish pots and pans at the home and polish shoes and things like that. And so I kind of was introduced to the concept of being a flute repair technician very early in my life. And I was an accomplished flutist in my youth. It's sort of a funny story that when I was in elementary school, we started singing choir, if you will, in the third grade. Recorder was introduced in the fourth grade, and in fifth grade, we were introduced to band. And for some reason, I simply wanted to play flute. Like many of us flutists, we were just attracted to the instrument. While at our Detroit Institute of Arts, a really great museum in downtown Detroit, they had a little fife in the display case at the gift shop. And for some reason, I pointed that out and I started to play that in advance of getting a flute. And I was presented a flute without really asking for it. If I remember correctly, my parents encouraged me and bought me a used flute to play. And I could pick it up and play it immediately. I didn't have any difficulties. And then was enrolled in band class. And what I remember at the end of the year, the big concert, the conductor and the fifth graders were partnered up with the sixth graders. So it was the big end of the year concert. I remember the band director lifting up his baton and all of the musicians picking up their instruments. I was petrified. I didn't play a single note. I just had the flute up, and when he put his arms down, I put the flute down.
Oh, no.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, that's a great story.
Well, we did move that summer nearby, just a few miles away, and in the sixth grade, I guess they kind of heard me play, and in the big end of the year concert, I was given a rather complicated solo where I had to stand up and play a solo. And what I remember was it was a very odd key signature. It went from 6/8 to 7/8 to 9/8. And so from one year being petrified to play a note, the next year standing up and having to do a solo in the big concert. And so there you have it. That was sort of the first year or two.
Wow. So why were you petrified with the conductor's hands going up and down?
I think I must have been and still probably quite a sensitive artist type. We artists, whether we're musicians or painters or sculptors, actors or actresses, composers, making arts and crafts, I must have been just a little sensitive at the time, but I got over it pretty quickly. In my senior year in high school, I was actually competing in a competition and I won a scholarship. And the scholarship monies were used to study flute performance in Nice, France at the Académie Internationale d'Art. And that was the home of the Paris Conservatory, what we'll call the summer home of the Paris Conservatory, and had the great opportunity as a youngster to study with Rampal, Marion, and Adorjan, the great French school of players at that time. And interestingly enough, while in junior high school, I studied with a really great band director, H. Wayne Tilton. He was a former Marine, and he was a very old gentleman. And basically, I learned just about everything I ever learned in playing music, not playing flute, but in playing music. And at some point, about eighth grade, I think it was, somehow a few of us were not excited about being in the band. And I actually quit playing flute. This is not well known, and I don't share it very often. But as an encouragement to others out there who may have stopped playing, I quit playing, and in my last month of my 11th grade, my senior year, I started playing flute again very seriously. I was able to win the music competition and study in France. And that also included playing a solo with our combined orchestra, and I played Mozart Concerto in G with a cadenza.
Nice.
That was fun.
What a rich history.
Yeah, that's sort of how I started as a flutist. And because of my interest in learning repair, while I was studying painting and sculpture at Wayne State University in Detroit, downtown Detroit, I bumped into my old flute instructor, who was the artist in residence, the vice president of Muramatsu Flutes. And I was hired to become a flute repair technician for Muramatsu Flutes. And then I spent the first 10 years of my career as the chief technician for the importer at that time. There's been a number of changes in importing and distribution since. And of course, the highlight was going to Japan and working in the factory, the Muramatsu Flute factory, and also working in the what is referred to as the Shinjuku store or shop. And I had a nice stay there. I was fortunate throughout the years to work directly with the chief engineers at the Muramatsu Flute Manufacturing Company in Tokorozawa, Japan. And they are, at that time, were known as the great designers, and many of the flute makers would make a trek to their factory and understand the processes of manufacturing flutes. And so that was a great training and is part of the beginning of what would be my career in the industry of flute. Flute and piccolo. Let's not forget piccolo.
Can't forget piccolo.
Love piccolo and low flutes, right? We love the low flute.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. So I want to piggyback off of what you said earlier about you starting off as a flute repairman. The reason why I want to highlight this is because as I'm talking to different flute shop owners, I'm noticing that repair was a crucial beginning to their career and then, in starting their shop. You know the industry way better than I do. Have you seen this trend?
I follow you. Yes, I'm tracking with you.
Is there a connection there, or?
I think there can be a connection because our industry is a very small industry, from manufacturing to retailing to performing to composing to repairing. And I think that there is a connection to all of that. A number of my friends who own businesses similar to Flute Specialists, we were in very early in the trend of boutique flute shops. So we were one of the original ones. It is a common thread. But also I know a lot of technicians who have no interest in owning a shop or getting involved in retail. But I think there's a natural inclination, just like some flutists are multi-talented, and other industries have multi-talented people. Not everyone should own a business. Not everyone is capable of managing a business. Not everyone has a vision of what can make their business unique in the marketplace. And repair is part of the history of teaching, as I mentioned with my uncle who is a band director, to band directors opening up stores, repair technicians opening up stores. So there's a long history going back 100 years, 200 years. So I agree with you. It seems to be a common thread.
Thank you for making that connection for me. Yeah, really cool. So you have so much passion and heart into your store, and your team is wonderful from the times that I've been able to speak with them in the past and through emails. So you already know what's extra special about your shop, but could you share with us what you find to be especially unique about your store and your business?
Well, thank you. I think what makes us unique ultimately, beyond the large inventory of beautiful instruments from handmade flutes and piccolos and head joints to pre-professional flutes, intermediate step-up models, beginning instruments, beyond the great inventory and the marvelous instruments in such a wide range of pricing, both new and used, is ultimately the people. And our team is just a great team, from our artists in residence, Tatiana Casetta, our staff here, our repair staff. We all truly care about the individuals we work with, and it's individuals and it's families. And to share the gift of music is actually a very nice thing. Of all the things one can do, encouraging playing and assisting people play and achieve their goals, whether they're pro players or soon to be auditioning players, adult amateur players, beginning students. So we've never wanted, and fortunately we never have discriminated against beginning players or amateur players to benefit the advanced or professional players. So we work with all flutists. It's been a part of our beginning concept, is treat everyone equally, skill levels, and really try to treat people the way we want to be treated, treat others like we'd like to be treated. So to that end, a lot of what we do would be considered consultations. And so we love talking with people, emailing, of course, texting are all things we can do, FaceTime and all the other current platforms that are being used, from audio and visual platforms. So because we have a great inventory of instruments and we have a desire to truly help people, I think people begin to understand that it's less about business for us and it's more about artistic development. And a lot of the businesses are geared for business, and that's something people may not be able to quantitate or articulate, but it's something someone can feel. So we feel blessed to have someone reach out to us and let us help them, where we don't take any individual for granted. And I think that is the cornerstone of what we do. We would partner that with an exceptional repair shop, and a world-class repair shop. And so even if a person has a great inventory, they may not have the repair facility that can individualize the repairs to really meet the expectations of the player meaning the highest level players, the world-class soloists, who we've always felt a beginning student needs a more skilled technician, because the flutes they present to us are sometimes in really unplayable conditions, even when they're brand new. And so we don't want that youngster to quit. So the goal we have is to encourage potentially lessons. Now we're teaching across the country through the platforms that are available, Zoom and all the others. But beyond that is if a player, whether it's a professional player, intermediate, or beginning, does not have an instrument that works properly, once they get discouraged, it's more likely they will quit. So we want people to play, we want people to be encouraged, and we want people who stop playing to start playing again. We call them often adult second beginners, or someone who hasn't played in a while, and then adult first-time beginners. So yes, we work with the highest level soloists, orchestral players, college professors and their students. To that end, we don't turn anyone away. Our doors are open to everyone.
Oh, how special. And what I'm hearing from that is just those relationships and engagement with your clients is so important to you.
We value individuals as individuals. It's, again, because our premise is not necessarily straightforward business. As an industry, historically, there's a lot of different business models and business approaches that are out there. But we decided in the beginning, certainly when I was the only employee, of course, to make follow a pathway that was clean, clear, and concise to me with a vision. And fortunately, we've been blessed over the great many years to have some really tremendous team members that share the same desire to help and be helpful and encouraging. And, that's what we do. That's what we've tried to do anyway.
What great lessons for all of us to hear. I mean, just the words you used, encouragement and learning from each other, right? We can take that easily, those gold nuggets, into our flute studio room with our students in a private lesson or on stage, And so I marvel at all the ways it can piggyback into other niches in our music community.
It's a marvelous industry. And with all industries, there's different processes of learning and playing and teaching and manufacturing instruments, repairing instruments. I think it's a great industry. I know you believe it's a great industry.
Yeah, perfect. So speaking a little bit more about your business, since you have been in the industry for some time now, what is the most prominent lesson that you've learned while managing your store? If you can narrow it down to one lesson.
Well, again, because we're all unique individuals, everyone has a different vision. When I opened the company, one of the bedrock, cornerstone, fundamental beliefs I had was to always be honest, to not be dishonest in business. That in itself is the cornerstone, the bedrock of everything we do. I am blessed that I still repair instruments, and I love to repair instruments. And as I'll say, talented repair technician, the repair always came first. So when we sell an instrument, we're servicing it, and with the lifespan of the instruments, we're maintaining them. So it would be a combination of honesty, integrity, and craftsmanship is really the cornerstone, the bedrock of the origin story of flute specialists. We could go deeper and deeper, but that would be my takeaway is that. That would be what I would encourage others to do. The marketplace can be extremely competitive, but you can be who you are as an individual, and others, we hope, would respond to the individual, but in this case, the company.
Yeah, and with honesty, you're building trust. And so if anyone can sniff dishonesty, then they're not likely to keep being a customer. So I love and I respect how you're holding up that honesty, at a high level, because if that trust isn't there, then people aren't going to buy, right?
It's an important part. So because of the competitive nature of what we do now, certainly when we started, it was a different landscape of as far as flute shops and flute boutiques. But I can say that the relationship is most important. So when we're helping someone, we realize that not every sale or trial will end up leading to a purchase from us, whether it's immediately or down the road. So what we value is that friendship so that a person can come back to us when they're ready to purchase or the next time they need something. So the high pressure sales tactics that seem to be so successful for other companies, we just choose to avoid, and we'd rather not enter into that arena or cage where it's kind of the way other companies may choose to do it. There are a lot of great companies out there, of course, a lot of great people out there, but that the friendship, the relationship we do value greatly.
I love that. So since it is New Year's Eve, as 2020 is almost behind us and we are moving forward into 2021, what flute shop events are you looking forward to?
Well, thank you. We have all kinds of things happening here. We are trying our best to really, in this COVID era, still be doing great things for flutists. So as everyone knows, all of the typical festivals and flute shows that would be held and that we would travel to all over the country, including our National Flute Association, are not meeting because of COVID. And we all know the impact that COVID has had on individual performers, from orchestras to bands, professional to amateur players. We know the impact COVID has had on, everyone knows, I don't need to go through the list, but teachers, private teachers, studio teachers. So we're doing a lot, but like everyone else, it's through the platforms that are available, such as Zoom and all the others. So we have always been very, I'll say, generous over the years, because the scholarship opportunity that I received as a youngster was so significant to me in my development as a young adult. And I value giving that opportunity to others. So for years and years and years, we have sponsored competitions and workshops, and we are continuing to do that. I can give you a list of some of the things we've done and are doing. There's a great nonprofit organization for kids in music and dance here in Metro Detroit, right downtown Detroit. And it's called Crescendo Detroit. And we support and help them in many ways. And Crescendo Detroit is always looking for people to assist them through donations. And we are working with them, collaborating with them. There's another organization we partner with called 7 Pillars, and they do events, interactive flute events for adults and young people. Of course, COVID has crimped that, but there is a strong commitment to the music scene in Jamaica. So 7 Pillars is also a great organization we partner with, and always looking for assistance. With the National Flute Association, we've always been a sponsor of different competitions and things like that. So we're currently sponsoring the Junior Young Artist and Adult Amateur competitions for 2021. We are very fortunate to have a dear and close friend, Robert Dick, and we partner with Robert in his efforts. And this summer, he's going to have, again, the Robert Dick Contemporary Scholarship for the workshop that he's doing this summer, Contemporary Music. We sponsored a Puerto Rico Flute Symposium, International Latin American Flute Competition, Trillium Flute Collective, Flute New Music Consortium. So we could go down a list of things that we're actively participating this year and next year. And these commitments are ongoing. And that's not even including the individuals that we work with and schools, festivals, flute organizations. It's just a very long list. So generosity or giving, donating is a part of what I believe in personally, and also as a company, we are very committed to being active in the community.
Thank you so much for that giving nature. We really appreciate your support in all of those different events.
Thank you. And to that end, with our Facebook and Instagram, we're constantly giving away cash prizes, and we're concluding a free piccolo giveaway on Facebook and Instagram. So look forward to our Facebook, Instagram, like us there, because we're constantly giving away prizes and money. We have a really great live Facebook discussion that's called Flutespresso, where it's live with the country's leading flutists, composers, educators. And of course, people can watch those as they're recorded, and they can watch them at their convenience. We have a great electronic newsletter. The value of the newsletter is we have great articles written by some people who really have interesting perspectives on playing and teaching. And every month the newsletter goes out, and there's discount coupons. And our website, flutespecialist.com, is constantly encouraging people to visit the site because of all the specials and special deals that are going on. And even for those who are listening to your podcast, we have a special discount coupon that will keep open for an extended period of time, because we know this podcast will be listened to for some time down the road. So the discount coupon is simply Flute360 for 20% off music. And we're going to keep that open for an extended period of time. So giving cash prizes for easy access contests, guess the jelly beans in the jar, whatever it could be, we love that. And that's part of our social media presence as well.
Oh my goodness, Robert. Thank you so much for that Flute 360 code.
It's our pleasure. We just want to encourage you and support all of your efforts as well as all of the individuals who love your podcast. It's a great thing you're doing, and it's a great service. I love these conversations, whether it's our Flute Espresso or if it's your Flute 360 podcast. It's just so marvelous to hear people talking. Maybe it's a little old-fashioned. Maybe that's part of my generation. We love to talk. But certainly, I think there's great value in communicating and talking and sharing and encouraging.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. And I think from conversations, inspiration can occur. And from inspiration, man, you can feel like you can completely move mountains, whether it's a hard project or not a hard project, but a creative project, an audition, just hearing somebody's insights and somebody's expertise and knowledge being offered through a phone conversation, it can ignite inspiration. And that just leads to such wonderful things.
Amen on that. We're on the same page, and COVID has been very difficult for everyone, and certainly thoughtfulness and sensitivity to all the concerns everyone has are very real and very valid. And so being encouraged and inspired or finding a pathway through this COVID mess is a great thing. And before COVID, encouragement and inspiration is awesome. After COVID is gone, encouragement and inspiration will be super important, and just simply be more opportunities for everyone to get back out there and play and teach.
I love that. And even just your last answer to the last question, right? And you saying, oh, this is how we're giving this year, and just for me, because I'm the only listener right now, but, the minute I get off the phone, my first thought is, well, what can I give? What can I do more? That inspires me that Robert is giving so much in 2021. And so I say that only because there's this wonderful ripple effect, when this episode airs. Jane or Joe might hear that same sentiment and think, oh my goodness, like, what can I do? How can I give? Even if it's a small gesture like picking a friend up, and taking them to the doctor's office or something like that. I just think there's an amazing ripple effect that could happen, from this conversation.
Well, let's hope so. And, all of us are flutists, performers, teachers, composers, manufacturers. All of us are in this industry, but we live outside the industry as well. And showing a little bit of kindness along the way goes a long way. So it's a great idea, as you're suggesting, that even outside of our flute playing identity, to have a giving spirit and trying to be nice to people isn't always a bad idea. It's not. It's actually not bad being known as a nice person and a helpful person, and it's certainly a nice company and a helpful company. Flute Specialists, we hope, will have that identity always.
Oh my goodness, yes, of course. And on that note, I think I want to end with that beautiful sentiment, because you wrapped up the company so well. Is there anything else that you would like to offer before we end this conversation?
Well, it's been a joy for me to participate, and the time has gone very, very quickly. I appreciate your thoughtfulness and questions and shared conversation. I can tell you that Flute Specialists, the team members, myself, we're all here if we can help in any capacity at any time. Call us, email us, maybe start with visiting flutespecialist.com or our Facebook or Instagram Flute Specialist page. Reach out to us. We'd love to help you with anything flute, piccolo, low flute, if we can. Purchases, repairs, music, accessories. Or if you're having a bad day and you just want to talk to someone, I'd love to chat with you. Just give us a call or reach out to us any way you feel comfortable.
I love that. And I will say, bringing this all full circle, that last thing you just said about, hey, if you just want to reach out and talk, our flutes community is so small. And just to show you our small connections, you and I, like I said, we met briefly at NFA last summer, but our connection is much deeper than that. I've heard amazing things about you through our mutual friend, Christopher Caliendo, and also Robert Dick and Kathy Blocky. And so even though, we haven't actually got to sit down in real time, well, we are now, but, we haven't had a prior connection, all of those other people, it feels like the bond is stronger. And so I say that because our community is much smaller than you think it is. And so for any young listener out there, reach out to people that, that you want to call and pick up the phone and just say hi, because people are willing to share, and people are willing to talk to you if you need that.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. There's lots of people who would love to have any opportunity to chat with any flutist of any age and any skill level out there. Be encouraged, reach out to people. Why not?
Yes, exactly. Cool. So I do a fun segment at the end of the show called Picks. Do you have a pick for the listener today?
Well, I could suggest pick flute specialists to work with during the 2021 season. That would be a little self-serving, but that's out there. I think it would be, if we stay within the flute realm, I would encourage maybe pick a new piece of music of a contemporary composer that's writing music currently and just see what new is out there. That's a whole big thing. Robert Dick, Christopher Caliendo, two great individuals you mentioned. There's so many great people out there. But play some different music, especially with the time we have with COVID. But there's a lot of new compositions that are fun to play and interesting to play. I mean, there's a long list of great composers. I might suggest that if we're not directing people directly to flutespecialist.com.
Okay, perfect. I love that pick.
Super.
And my pick for today is a book titled Counterpoint, A Memoir of Bach in Mourning by Philip Kennicott. It's written beautifully. So if anybody is looking for a book recommendation, that is a book that I recommend.
Cool.
Yeah. And they also have an Audible version too, if you're more of a listener than a reader.
Cool.
Yeah. Awesome, Robert. Well, thank you so much for your time, talents, and energy. And we so appreciate your giving heart. And I've learned so much from listening to your story. And I cannot wait to share your story with our flute community.
Well, thank you again for taking your time to do this interview. Have a great 2021, and I'll look forward to seeing you in person or through one of the platforms soon.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you for listening to the Flute 360 podcast. Please subscribe to the Flute 360 newsletter by going to HeidiKBegay.com. A pop-up will appear and you can enter in your information for the weekly newsletter. The newsletter includes great incentives, updates, and perks to the subscribers. Go ahead to HeidiKBegay.com and sign up today. Thank you. Let's talk about flute.